Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. It's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and this is the Sunday video where I look at the hottest Golden Age comics of the week. Let's get right into it. First comic on the list is Large Feature Comics number 8. This is actually Bugs Bunny number 1. It's from Dell, 1942. It's a Chase Craig cover. And it's Bugs Bunny number 1. Really, that's the significance about this book. Really, this Large Features comics actually had a lot of key things. One of them was, for example, first Carl Barks art is, I forgot which large it is, but it's one of the large features. So the point is, this is a kind of one of those under the radar titles, but it does have some keys in it, and this is one of the keys, being the first Bugs Bunny title. This was a 3.5 that sold, and it was restored. C3, and it was $439. C3, color touch, pieces added, tear seals, new staples. So yeah, a lot of stuff done to this one. C3 means that it's moderate restoration, so fairly a lot done to it. So yeah, so it is one of those books that cannot be unrestored. So yeah, but this was a really strong sale especially for a restored book. Only sale of this grade, but if we compare it to the Blue Label, which sold back in April 2022, one sold for $349.26. So this is up $100 from the Blue Label, and yeah, it's a very strong sale for this book. There are 24 of these on the census, and 19 are Universal Blue Labels. Number 9 on the list is Blue Beetle number 4. This is from Fox Featured Syndicate, 1940. It's a Charles Nicholas cover, or art, I should say. It's a cool cover. It's got a bit of Good Girl. It has a, kind of reminds me of Amazing Fantasy 15. Just because, if you think of Amazing Fantasy 15, he's swinging in with the guy under his arm. Well, this is kind of the same, different direction, but I don't know. I just kind of reminds me of it. Tell me in the comments below if I'm crazy or not. I'm probably crazy, but, this was a 3.5 restored copy that sold, and it sold for, I think, $495. It's one of those ones where it had, a best offer option, but I don't know if they accepted best offer or what. It's just listed at $495. This one, as I said, it's restored. It's got tear seals, color touch, a split spine that has been repaired. So yeah, a lot done to this one as well. It's the only sale for this book in this grade. But if you compare it to the Blue Label, which is a little bit unfair, but comparing it to the Blue Label, a Blue Label sold back in 2010. So that's why I say it's unfair, because it's too long ago. A Blue Label sold back then for $89.62. So it's way up, way up compared to the Blue Label, but that was 15 years ago. A lot has happened in that time. Now, let's compare it to some similar grades. There was a 3.0 that sold back in November of 2023, so 2 years ago, for $348. So it's obviously up above that. And a 4.5 sold for $480 in February of 2024. So this is a really strong sale because it's higher than even the higher grade Blue Label. So just a really strong sale. Yeah, interesting book. There are 29 of these on the census, and 26 of them are Universal Blue Labels. One thing I should also note about this Blue Beetle number 4, it's not only restored, but it is also slightly brittle pages. So a lot was going on with this book. Number 8 on the list is MGM's Lassie number 1. This is from Dell, 1950. It's a Mo Golab Golab cover. It's based on MGM's Lassie movie, which was very popular, and they made a comic about it. Now, this comic actually ran for several issues, not all about the movie, but more about the show and the subsequent Lassie TV series. But a lot of the issues actually contain Matt Baker art. So it's kind of a cool book in that respect. This one in particular does not include Matt Baker art, but it is the first of the title. This was a 7.0 that sold, and originally it was listed at almost $500, like $497. But then they accepted a best offer of $300, which is a low sale. The previous record for this book was set back in I don't remember when it was set. It was set for $420. It was a heritage auction sale in, I think it's 2024. However, there was a more recent sale where it sold for $143 in November of 2024 on Comic Connect. So I think what happened was the one that was sold on Comic Connect, the 143 one, is this book. So basically, even though they took a big loss compared to what the record was, they flipped it and basically doubled their money. So I think that Comic Connect one was just somebody got a steal on there. They were like, "Hey, I can flip this, even if I don't get the full previous record, I can still double my money." So I think somebody did quite well on this one. There are 18 of these on the census, and 18 are Universal Blue Labels. Number 7 on the list is Saddle Romances, number 10. This is from EC Comics, 1950. It's Al Felstein cover. And this one's interesting because it's probably the two worst genres in terms of popularity of comics, like romance and westerns. But this one is a cool key because it's the very first time you get Wally Wood working at EC Comics. And he really made his mark at EC Comics, where readers would write in saying, "Hey, we really like this artist. Can you get him to do more?" And he started doing covers, and he was a very popular artist at EC. This was a CBCS copy that sold in a 6.0 for $600. Now, there was, again, no previous records for this one, but we can compare it to the CGC sale. There was a CGC sale in December of 2019, so, take that with, a little bit of, it's gone up since, I imagine, where it sold for $275. So I'd imagine this book would have been around $400 to $500 in that time period. That's gone up that much. So this one is a strong sale because CBCS usually goes for about 20% less than a CGC. So this is a strong sale because it went for about 20% more than what you would expect a CGC copy to go for. So very strong sale. And there's 17 of these on the census, and 17 are Universal Blue Labels. Number 6 on the list is Beyond number 1. This is from Ace Periodicals, 1950. I'm not sure who did the cover, but it is a classic cover, a werewolf cover. This is a cool book in a cool run. It's actually one of those runs that went fairly long. And this was a 5.0 that sold, and it sold for $700. Now this book, this was a steal. I don't know what the seller was thinking, because this was a buy it now on eBay. And they sold this cheap. This is a really cheap price because the previous record for this book was set in March of this year, 2025. So it's not like 20 years ago or anything like that. It's this year, March of 2025, for $1,220. So this is a $500 drop in that period. And there was a golden sale, even on golden, which usually has really low numbers. And that sale was the most recent sale before this one. And that was in May of 2025 for $977. So even that was way higher. And if you look at the historical trends on this book, it's like $1,000 to $1,200 book pretty much all the time. So I'm not sure. Maybe somebody was just trying to sell it quickly, and they let people have a steal on it, and somebody grabbed it. And I don't blame them. It was a good price. So yeah, there's 70 of these on the census, and 61 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Uh, Number 5 on the list is Popular Comics #1. This was an interesting one. This is from Dell, 1936. So it's considered actually not a golden age comic. It's actually a platinum age comic. But this one is such a major book. It's one that it's high up on my want list, actually. So when I saw this, I was very disappointed that I did not see it. I didn't see it get listed, and I'll explain why I didn't see it get listed. So this one has it's the very first Dell comic. You know, Dell is famous for 4-color. It's famous for Popular Comics. It's famous for a bunch of stuff, and this is where it all started. So very important book. It has so many first appearances in it and major characters like Dick Tracy, Little Orphan Annie, Don Winslow, Gas, Gasoline Alley. I was trying to remember the name. Gasoline Alley, Terry and the Pirates. So, and just a bunch of really cool characters made their first appearance in this book. Huge book. I didn't see it because it was on eBay Live. eBay Live sale. So this is one of those things where they, they have live sales that happen on eBay. And I guess nobody saw it because there was only one bid. There was only one bid on this one. And it was a 1.0 that sold for $999, which is the opening bid. So whoever got this was very lucky because this is a really hard book to find. I've been looking for a while for this one. Now, this was a 1.8 that sold. A 1.0 that sold for $999. Only sale. Like, there's no other sales to compare this one to in this grade. However, there was a 1.8 that sold for $1,500 in 2016. So based on that, I would have expected this book to go for probably around the same amount. I would have figured around $1,500 would have probably been a fair price for this book. So somebody got a steal because they were just watching eBay Live. I don't normally watch eBay Live, but this one was one that just went under the radar. I can't believe they put it up on eBay Live rather than just having it go through a regular auction on eBay. Really interesting sale that way. So to use eBay Live, maybe we're missing out on some pretty big steals, and I think this one was kind of in that vein. So there are 21 of these on the census, and 15 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 4 on the list is Batman number 20. This is from DC Comics, 1943. It's a Dick Sprang cover, and it's the first time we see the Batmobile on the cover. So it's kind of a classic book. It's like they always seem to have like when they introduce Robin, he goes through the little hoop thing. Well, this is the car going through the cover, which is kind of cool. This was a 3.0 that sold, and it was originally listed at $1,999.99, so basically $2,000. But actually, they took the best offer at $1,200, which was interesting. Now, the previous record for this book was actually set back in January of 2023, sort of peak, like at the end of COVID kind of pricing, where it sold for $1,680, $1,680, sorry. But that was kind of a peak sale. More recent sales, the last sale, for example, was in October of 2025, so just last month, where it sold for $1,250. And there was even a sale in May of 2025 where it sold for $1,140. So this book has become like that $1,200 book. It's like kind of in that range. There was actually 4 sales for this book. This book seems to be trading hands fairly frequently. And if you look at the ones that we've talked about so far, the censuses are really low. Well, this book actually has a really high census. There's 337 of them on the census, and 303 of them are universal blue labels. So you'll see it a bit more often. Number 3 on the list is True Love Pictorial, number 11. This is from St. John Publications, 1954. It's a Matt Baker cover. And this is actually the last issue in the run, but it has the classic Matt Baker babe on it. It's like, the typical, this is a really common trope with romance covers where you have the painter and the model. It's just like a thing that they do. Kind of a bit lurid story element to it. So people like that kind of stuff. This one is a classic cover. And it sold for classic cover prices. This was a 4.5 that sold, and it sold for $2,200, which is down, actually. I thought that was a strong sale, but it's actually not a record. The previous record for this book and last sale, so most recent sale was a record, was in May of 2025, and it sold for $2,378. Now, the prior sales were a bit lower than that, so more like were like several $100s lower. So this $2,200 sale kind of just reconfirms that record. So it's been selling for between that $2,000 and $2,400 price range this year. So strong sale, actually. Even though it's lower than the record, it's still a strong sale. There are 37 of these on the census, and 36 of them are universal blue labels. Number 2 on the list is Phantom Lady 23. This is from Fox Feature Syndicate, 1949. It's another Matt Baker cover, and it's another great cover. I mean, this is a really cool one where you got Phantom Lady in bondage. Now that is just hitting a lot of people's key things that they're looking for, and it's just a really sexy cover. Just a really good one. This was a 7.0, so really high grade for this book. And it sold for $10,850. And there was a lot of bids that happened on this book. Now, this is the only sale for this grade, but there's been a lot of sales, in different grades for this book. So there has been an 8.0 that just sold in June of 2024 for $12,000. So this is kind of in line with that 8.0 sale. There was a 6.5 sale that sold at the peak, like really the peak, for $15,600. But that was really an outlier sale. It just it was just totally off the charts at the time. And the last sale in a 6.5, for example, so that $15,000 sale, well, that was, as I said, really an outlier sale because the last sale in a 6.5 was $9,120, and that was in July of 2024. So this book is kind of in that $10,000 to $11,000 range for the grade, and that's kind of what you would expect it to go for. So that 6.5, I felt bad for whoever bought that at that high of a price. That was a bit too much of an overpay. This 7.0, is kind of in line with what you would expect it to sell for. But really strong sale anyways. There are 58 of these on the census, and 53 of them are universal blue labels. Number 1 on the list is Detective Comics 168. This is from DC Comics, 1951. It's a Lou Schwartz cover. Lou Sayer cover. Lou Sayer Schwartz cover, sorry. And this is the first appearance of the Red Hood. And it is the origin of the Joker. Now, spoiler alert, the Red Hood is the Joker. So this is kind of, the first, time we see the Red Hood, but it's really just the origin of Joker is the main feature of this book. Now, this was a 7.0 blue label that sold, and it sold for $34,500. which is a really strong sale for this book. The previous record was set at the height of COVID for $33,600. So this blew past the COVID record. Very means that, which is a very strong sale. More recently, this book has really dropped. Actually, the day before this sale, the very day before, this book sold for $28,411. So the day before. So this, you know, if it was the same person, they flipped it and made $6,000, which would be pretty amazing. I'd like to do that kind of thing. That'd be pretty fun. Really good sale. So this was a strong sale. The fact that it could beat the kind of coveted kind of peaky sales is really impressive. There are 223 of these on the census, and 176 of them are Universal Blue Labels. So what did you think of this list? Did you buy any of these books? Tell me in the comments below. Thanks again for watching. Bye for now.